everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a full review of the season finale of Ahsoka, the 8th episode titled The Jedi, The Witch and the Warlord. Now there will be spoilers throughout this review, so just beware when going into this overall video, and you can check out my reviews of early episodes of the series, and I'll leave some links within the description. Now quickly, just to recap on the previous episode, we saw Thrawn continuing his plans to return to the galaxy, working alongside the Night Sisters. We see Baylan and Shin Hati go their separate ways before coming into confrontation again with the heroes. Shin is defeated by Ezra and Sabine, whilst Baylan is distracted enough by Ahsoka in their rematching battle. And all of the heroes reunite as they look to defeat Thrawn once and for all. Now going into this episode of the finale, overall as an individual installment, I think it was decent. It did have quite a lot of action and pace and spectacle. It was probably the most action-packed episode of the entire season, which is what you'd expect the finale to be, and that's absolutely fine. Now for me, the main issue here was that when everything was said and done, I really felt indifferent towards this episode, as if there was nothing really to get truly excited for or hyped towards. And that type of feeling, I think, is really more of a flaw of the entire season itself rather than just this particular episode. Now there were some dangling threads that were left open. They weren't necessarily cliffhangers, but they were elements that could have provided a much more compelling season 2 if we ever get a season 2. But again, these moments didn't really have the impact that I felt they should have done to fully get me invested in any future potential stories of this series. Now in terms of the story, it was essentially an all-out attempt from the heroes to stop Thrawn from travelling back to the galaxy. We finally had probably the most involving moment of Morgan Elsbeth, as we see her being fully anointed into the Night Sister group, and even given the sword of Talos, I believe it was called. Now why the other Night Sisters didn't have weapons like this, I'm not too sure, but really it was just an excuse to give Morgan Elsbeth a weapon to fight Ahsoka later on throughout the episode. We see the group of heroes come under attack from TIE fighters, before defeating them by crash landing their ship. We get some large scale action later on as they reach the Star Destroyer on camels or horses, whatever they were, I'm not too sure. And I did take big issue in how the Destroyer, with all its advanced weaponry, couldn't hit these targets, however small they were, or how slow they were moving. And the heroes were somehow unfazed by the huge recoil from all of the explosions happening around them. They were able to focus enough to travel into the ship. Now I did like the fight sequences and choreography as we saw the trio of heroes taking on the stormtroopers. It had some nice moves and stayed action. I almost had some empathy seeing the look on Morgan Elsbeth's face as Thrawn suggested that she stay behind to face Ahsoka whilst the others proceeded to leave. Even though she spent all that time instigating Thrawn in getting back, all that effort, all that recruitment in terms of getting Baylan and Shin Hati together, just to be left behind like that hanging. And the overall fight between Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth was nicely put together also. We had some nice choreography, again some nice moves and manoeuvres, and I will probably say that Ahsoka as a series likely has the best lightsaber duels in all of Disney's Star Wars so far. We then had the really silly moment where Sabine helps Ezra leap onto the departing Star Destroyer, again underlying how Ezra really isn't special in terms of his abilities. We see Sabine going to follow him, but after watching Ahsoka being outnumbered in attack, she decides to stay. Now why Ezra didn't go to leap back and help out, I just don't know. Maybe he got caught up in all the excitement of going back home that he completely lost or forgot his place or what exactly he was doing. We see Ahsoka dispatching Morgan Elsbeth in a very cool fashion, but there still wasn't any real euphoria in terms of her victory, and I think it really summed up again how unimportant Elsbeth has been as an overall character. And then despite the best efforts, Thrawn achieves his ultimate goal and manages to get back to the main galaxy alongside of Ezra, leaving Ahsoka and Sabine behind on this other side of the galaxy. So the characters have essentially swapped places, kind of rendering the entire plot of this season useless. Now in the closing stages, we did see one scene each for both Shin Hati and Baylan. We see Shin arriving to perhaps recruit and start off a new army of her own. We see her holding up her lightsaber in the air as some sort of signal of intent. Again, it was just a singular moment without really going anywhere, and whether we'll see any future appearances of Shin throughout future Star Wars content remains to be seen. And then we have a second moment which has got a lot of fans excited, I'm not too sure why, where we see Baylan standing up within the mountainside looking at these two very tall statues. Now, if you do your research, or you're indeed a major Star Wars fan, you will see that these two statues are indeed statues of the characters from the Mortis arc. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the Mortis was the other universal realm that was visited by Anakin, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, I believe in the middle of this season 3 of the Clone Wars, where they encountered very much of these godlike beings, and it was very much focusing on Anakin once more getting to grips with his overall destiny and what he would become in the future. And it actually remains one of the most impressive and standout episodes, all arcs indeed, of the Clone Wars series. So if you are a fan of that particular series, then you would probably get very excited. But again, as what's been an ongoing problem of this entire season, if you have no idea of the Clone Wars series, no idea of the Mortis characters or that particular arc, then you really wouldn't care at all about this particular sequence. It really didn't leave you invested to see what would happen. And again, there was no real crescendo or euphoria at all at what was going on. Now, of course, this moment will always carry some sort of tragic resonance given the recent passing away of actor Ray Stevenson, especially since he was, for me, the best performer of the entire series, and Baylan was the most interesting character. But then we get to the closing stages where we see Thrawn arriving back in the galaxy, heading towards the Night Sisters planet of Dathomir with the Night Sisters to assumedly rebuild his empire of the zombified stormtroopers. Now, this potentially could be interesting in any possible season 2 if we do get that. The supposed downturn in viewing and ratings may suggest that we will not get a season 2, but we will wait and see. But once more, if you are a hardcore Star Wars fan, you may be hyped up for this moment, especially if it hints much more to the Thrawn stories from the Star Wars expanded universe. But again, if you have no idea what that is, then this moment really wouldn't be as enticing to you as a viewer. We do see Ezra returning back home, escaping the destroyer in an escape pod, seeing Hela once more, but like his meeting with Sabine, it really didn't feel anything that was truly resonating or truly satisfying. And a lot of this is because, again, of the lack of investment in Ezra as a character. There was no rallying speech or call to get back on board to find the others or to combat Thrawn. He just kind of stands there. So again, this moment felt really flat. And at the end of the episode, we just see Ahsoka and Sabine accepting their fate at being rooted on this other side of the galaxy. Again, there was no speech of finding a way back, no frustration or anger, just acceptance that this is where they belong and that they will have to settle down. And for me, again, this left a feeling of indifference. Surely any kind of cliffhanging moment would have hopefully seen Ahsoka really determined to get back to the other side of the galaxy, because now we know that Thrawn is going to be a massive threat. If you are really choosing to settle down in this galaxy, what exactly are you going to do? What exactly is going to be your overall purpose? And it really begs the question of where the hell were all of those space wells that took them to this galaxy in the first place? We saw in the earlier episodes Ahsoka making some sort of mind connection or emotional bond with the space wells, so why can't she just use her Force abilities to recall them? We saw how she was able to make some sort of contact with Sabine when they were travelling through the galaxy, so why can't she do something similar in order to call these space wells? They could hyperdrive back to the other side of the galaxy in order to combat Thrawn. If anybody can come up with some sort of logical answer within the comments, then it would be most welcoming. And seeing Anakin's Force Ghost vision at the end, for me personally, provides no real relevance or emotional weight, as there's been really no development of Ahsoka after seeing Anakin in those earlier visions that we saw throughout the midpoint of this overall season. So again, when looking at this overall in terms of an episode, it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. As I said, we had some nice visuals, we had some nice action and well put together choreography. But as we got to the end of this installment, I just really felt indifferent. I just didn't care about what happened, what went on. And again, that's a massive flaw more of the entire season. And I will expand more on that discussion in a video later on down the line. But in terms of a finale episode, I'd say it was probably better than what we saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi or Andor. But it really wasn't the conclusion that we could have got. And again, that's something I can say not only of this individual episode, but also of this season as a whole. So that's my overall thoughts and feelings on the season finale of Ahsoka. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As I mentioned before, I will provide an overall view of the entire season of this show, so look out for that in the future. And if you have any further topics or movies or television series that you'd like to see me cover within this channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.